Hey everybody, Chris here. Welcome to another episode of Cardboard Dragon Reviews, and today we are taking a look at Cash and Guns 2nd Edition, which is a party style game for 4 to 8 players, takes about a half hour to play, and is recommended for ages 10 and up. So in this game we're going to be taking on the role of one of these gangsters here, and we have just completed a giant heist with all the other gangsters, all the other players, except now we can't really decide how we're going to split the take, and that's where these guns come in. So we're going to be playing a game basically of intimidation, bluffing each other out to try and get as much of the take as we can, and possibly inflict some lethal force if necessary to eliminate our opponents. So let me go ahead and teach you how to play this game, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on Cash and Guns. Alright, so Cash and Guns isn't really a terribly difficult game to play. I usually teach it to people by playing one dummy round where nothing counts that we do, and then they have a pretty good idea of how to play, and everything's always worked out after that. So that's what we're going to do here. We'll try that. So the first thing that needs to happen is each player needs to take a token, a character token, and they're just cosmetic. They're all the same functionally. You just need to have something that represents you in front of you. Then each player needs to take a foam gun and hold on to that. We need to lay out all the various tokens onto the board here, just within reach. And then we need to deal out cards to the players. So there are two of these types of small cards in the game. There are the click cards here, and which are blue, and then there are the bang cards. So click cards are basically blanks in your gun, or you don't actually have a bullet in your gun. Bang cards are live bullets. You are loaded and ready to fire. This is how you can kind of think of them. So we need to give each player 5 of these clicks and 3 of these bangs for a total of 8 cards. So we give this to the players, and they're going to be keeping these secret from everybody for the rest of the game. We lay out the Godfather desk token here, and we also need to give the actual Godfather desk token to the oldest player to start, and they will be the Godfather of that round. Every round, this may or may not change. It usually does change. It has a chance of changing every round, so we'll get into how that happens in a bit. Then we need to lay out the loot. So it is 8 cards every round. There's 64 cards in the total loot deck here, so everything in this game is basically done in 8s. There are 8 of these bullet cards, so in 8 rounds. So as you might guess, you are going to be playing one of those every round and not getting them back. So here we have the loot out. Now we are ready to start. So that would have been the first thing that happens at the beginning of every round. So this gets laid out for everybody to see, and that might alter their behavior in the round because they might see things that they want to collect. So I'll go over what these cards are once we actually learn how to play the game, because then they'll make sense to you. So after the loot is laid out, each player needs to pick one of their bullet cards in secret. So one of the little cards in their hand of 8. They're just going to go ahead and pick one secretly and lay it face down in front of them. Okay, and set the others to the side, hidden. Every player is going to do that, so we'll go ahead and do that with these guys here too. Okay. Next thing that happens is the best part of this game, and you get to point your gun at somebody. So that's the hold up. So everybody takes their gun in their hand, and the Godfather counts 3, 2, 1, go, or however they want to do it, however you decide to do it. We go 3, 2, 1, go, and you point your gun at another player. So I might point here or here. It has to be clearly at another player, and you need to be doing it when on time with everybody else, or else you'll be out of the round. You can't play that round. So you just sit there and you hold your gun at somebody. So here we're pointing at Pedro here. After this, and let's just pretend all these people have their guns pointed at me. Okay? So after this happens, there's a step called the Godfather's privilege. So whoever the Godfather of the round is can say to somebody, point your gun at somebody else. So you almost always want to do that when somebody has their gun pointing at you as a Godfather, and say, hey, point your gun at somebody else, because You could tell somebody who's not pointing their gun at you, point at somebody else, but then they might just turn around and point their gun at you. So we could say to Pedro here, hey Pedro, point your gun at somebody else. And then Pedro decides, should I point it at James or should I point it at Yoko? Well, let's point it at Yoko. Okay? So we're still all holding our guns out here. The next step is called courage. So this is where you have to decide whether or not you want to stay in the round. So what does this actually mean? So basically, if somebody has a gun pointed at you and you decide to stay in the round and not run away, lay down, which is actually what just happened here. That's how you signify that. If they have a bullet in their gun, so one of the bang cards, which we'll just flip over. Nobody does. I do. If somebody has a bang card in their gun and you don't back away, you get wounded. You can take 3 wounds during the game. Your 3rd wound kills you and you're out of the game completely. At that point, you're ineligible to win. Dead people cannot win this game, even if they have the most loot saved up. If people have clicks in their gun, however, that are pointed at you, and you haven't run away, then they've tried to bluff you to running away and they failed. Nothing happens to you. You're still going to participate in the divvying up of the loot. Because only people who haven't run away and people who haven't been wounded in that round get any loot. So just let's look at this situation. There are 2 guns pointed at me. The chance that one of them has a bang in their gun, pretty good. If it was just one person, I might want to take more of a chance. But if they both have bangs in their gun, I get shot twice. And if I get shot once more in the entire game, I'm gone. And this is only the first round. So for the courage step, again, these cards would be hidden. And the Godfather counts down, or counts up. It's 1, 2, 3. And on 3, same, however you do the counting with the pointing of the guns, keep that consistent. But 1, 2, 3. And on 3, if you want to run away, you just knock your character over, set your gun down, you're done. Okay? And whoever was pointing at you also gets to set their gun down. Now, the bullet that if you lay down, your bullet gets discarded face down. Nobody knows what that is. Same with the people who are pointing at somebody who ran away. Their cards get discarded face down. Now, we still have, at this point, we resolve the bullets of whoever is still standing and still pointing at somebody. So effectively, the only thing to resolve right here is Pedro pointing at Yoko, which we have happening right here. So Pedro flips over his bullet. He had a click. So nothing happens to Yoko. She doesn't get hurt. If this had been a bang, Yoko would now need to take a wound token and keep it beside her. And then she would lay down her character too. Now, these bullets resolve simultaneously. There's no who shoots first, and if somebody gets wounded, then they don't shoot back. That doesn't happen in this game. It all happens at the same time. So just an example, if Yoko was up and Pedro and Yoko were shooting at each other, and they both had bullet cards, both had bang cards, they would both shoot and wound each other and knock each other over. So let's keep them all up, though, because that's what was going to happen. So after the bullets are resolved, then we share the loot. So starting with the Godfather, and if the Godfather is out, which in this case I am, the player to their left, they pick one of the cards, and they take it with them, and they add them to their stash face down, okay? Easy. And then it goes to the next player to the left to take one card, add it to their stash face down. Next player, pick a card, add it to their stash face down, and we keep going around until there are no cards left to take. If that means that, like, this guy's going to get more loot than everybody else, because just that's how many cards there are, how many people are left in the game, so be it. That's just the way it works. Now, in our other example where these guys shot each other, James would get all this loot because he's the only one standing. and he hasn't taken any wounds, he hasn't run away, there's nobody else eligible to get loot, he gets all 8 cards this round. Okay, so let's go ahead and review the different types of cards that are in the game, the loot cards. So the first thing isn't really a card, it's this token here, cardboard token. And that is how somebody becomes a new Godfather. So when the loot is split up, this is one of the things you can take. And then if you take that, you take the Godfather desk. And next round, you're the Godfather. So you could, and if you happen to be the Godfather that round, that you also took this, you just stay the Godfather. So the most basic type of loot here is the money cards. They come in $5, $10, and $20,000 denominations. So those are just straight points, like $20,000. So that's your points. Okay, so that's those. And then we have here the paintings. Now the paintings are interesting because you want to collect a lot of them. There's a little chart on the bottom there that explains if you have, for instance, just one painting is worth $4,000. But if you had 2 paintings, that would be $12,000 total you would have at the end of the game. All the way up to having, if you had 10 paintings, it's worth $500,000, which is an insane amount of money in this game. So, then we have the diamond cards. This diamond card here is worth $5,000, so that's points at the end of the game. But also, whoever has the most cards, not the most value of cards, just the most cards, so 4 cards, gets to claim the big diamond, which is worth $60,000 at the end of the game. Then we have 2 kind of more weird special cards. So the first is First Aid. So this lets you when you collect this, you get rid of all of your wounds, all the wounds you currently have, and then you can just throw it away. It's useless. Then we have the Clip card. So the Clip card lets you go through the discarded bullet cards that have been used so far in the game, because remember, those are discarded. And we keep them face down. And you get to look through here for a bang card. You will throw away a click card in your hand and replace it with a bang card. Okay. Well, you could theoretically, if you wanted to, pull a bang card from the discard pile and then discard a different bang card from your hand if you wanted to do that. That's kind of a weird way of doing it, but you could do that if you wanted to. Usually you discard a clip to pick up a bullet. Okay, so that's really about it. So the game ends after all of the loot cards have been distributed. So if you're doing it right, that should be the end of the 8th round, because there's 64 cards and you lay out 8 every round. Then you add up all your cash assets, so the diamonds, the paintings, and there's straight up money. And whoever has the most wins. And remember, dead people cannot win this game. So even if you had the 10 paintings and $500,000, but you died, you're not eligible to have won this game. If there's a tie, whoever has the most wounds wins. So keep that in mind. So let me go ahead and give you my final thoughts now on Cash and Guns. Okay, so final thoughts time for Cash and Guns 2nd edition. I have never played the 1st edition of this game, but had wanted to for a long time, but just could not get my hands on a copy at a reasonable price. So I was very happy when I saw that this was going to be reprinted. This game is it's funny. And I mean, you got to have a sense of humor that works with this, because I think it's pretty hilarious, like having people who've known each other for years point these guns at each other. Like seeing parents pointing their guns at their kids. And some people might be offended by that. You know, the people I play with think that it's hilarious. And it's kind of sick, dark humor. So keep that in mind. But overall, this is one of my favorite party games that I own. It's a real blast to play this with people. And it's simple. Very simple. Like I said, I play a dummy round with everybody when I start, when they've been playing this for the first time, and it's always worked out very well. And I've played this with people who don't play board games at all, and they still have a blast playing this, just because it's such a simple idea, and they understand these kind of the theme of it because they've seen it in movies before, And it's just that physical act of pointing that gun at somebody and having those guns pointed at you, and some of those turns where you've got like 4 guns pointed in your face, and oh man, it's just an absolute blast. Now there's not a whole lot to the game. That's really, the best part about this game is that part of it, and the bluffing, and are they gonna back out? Are they going to run away? Are they going to chicken out? Or are they going to try and get greedy and try and pick up some of this loot? So it's pretty simple. It's really just a bluffing game with this awesome, though, theme and this awesome physical interaction. Now, the game does come with these cards, and I didn't show these to you. These are, I guess you call them power cards. I just don't like these. They give you like special abilities, and we played with them once, and we felt that it kind of took away from the game because you kind of get a random ability, and it took away from the purity of the game, I guess, if you will. So we never ever use those. Like the game exactly how it is, with everybody being on even footing at all times. It's just a lot of fun, and it always results in a lot of laughs. But it's just not a very deep game, and that's okay. Like I said, I've had success with this game with people who don't play games. So that's awesome to not have, a whole bunch of rules to go through. And just to be able to teach somebody by playing one quick round. That's less than 5 minutes of teaching to get somebody up and running and understanding the game, because they've physically gone through all the steps. And all the steps are very easy. So this is an 8 out of 10 for me. I feel like I say the same thing a lot of time with these games. I prefer the more deeper strategic games personally, but that's not what this game is intending to be. That's not what it needs to be. And just for me personally, it's not, a 9 or 10, which are reserved for some of my favorite games. But as far as a party game goes, this is one of my favorites, and I will always have this in my collection. Haven't checked out any of the expansions, but I'll have to maybe give that a go and just to see. I know people I played with, when I played this with them, are like, oh, I got to buy this game. And, it's just infectious, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a really good time, and it's only half an hour, and you can play 8 people. So that's awesome. So until next time, this has been Chris for Cardboard Dragon Reviews. Keep your dice on the table.